Without further introduction, I want to invite Abby to share with you her own story and why she believes that centers like ours need to compete against Planned Parenthood by offering holistic, comprehensive, pro-woman, pro-child, pro-life. Well, I'm from Texas, so howdy. I just got a funny text from my husband, I'll tell you about it in a minute. I left my husband at home with our 5 children. He's a stay-at-home dad, so he's used to it. You don't have to feel that sorry for him or anything, but he chose it. We've got 5 kids. We have an 8-year-old daughter, and then we have 4 sons. 2.5, 1.5, 7 months, and 1 week. And I know, yeah, thanks. Some of you are like, 7 months and 1 week? How did that happen? Well, is that even possible? So, I'll kind of start by telling you a story. 5 months ago, I got a phone call from my best friend who lives in Maryland, and she is a sign language interpreter, and she interprets for a deaf community that comes to her church. And she had told me, she called and said, we have a woman who's in this community. She's pregnant. I don't really know anything about it, but I know she has a lot of needs. And so I was wondering if maybe you and some of our friends could send some gift cards to me, and then I'll pass them on to her. And I said, yeah, absolutely. So my husband and I got some gift cards together. We sent them off to my friend Chris. She gave them to the mom. 3 weeks ago, my friend called me and said, hey, remember that mom no, that's not what she said. She said, hey, I know that you and Doug are, you guys have talked about adopting. When were you thinking of doing that? And I said, Carter, our youngest, he's only 7 months, so, probably not for another year. And she said, yeah, what do you think about 2 weeks? And I said, what are you talking about? And she said, remember that mom that you and Doug sent gift cards to, and we helped support her? Because she had gone to a pregnancy center in her town, but because she was not going to abort her baby, or she wasn't thinking about aborting her baby, they wouldn't help her and they sent her away. And so this mom had been on an adoption journey with a couple that they had emailed her that day, 3 weeks ago, and had said that since there was a possibility that her baby could be deaf, that they had decided they did not want him anymore. And so another family was called. The baby is biracial. And another family was called, and the first question they asked was, well, how black is the dad? And so we got a phone call. We were not home study ready. We had no background checks. I thought there's no way this is going to happen. And just yesterday, we brought home our 1-week-old son, who's now ours. I figured that if any of us get the phone call like that, if we truly say that we're pro-life, then our answer better be yes. If a mom needs a place to stay, if a mom needs support, if a baby needs a home, for those of us who say we are pro-life, our answer ought to always be yes. Now, I would love to stand up here and tell you that I've always been an advocate for adoption and life choices and things of that nature, but that's not true. I'm not going to go a lot into my story because most of you probably know it. I worked for Planned Parenthood for 8 years. I was an abortion clinic director. I was raised in an amazing Christian home. People ask me all the time, you know, Abby, how did you go from being someone that was raised in this wonderful home to being someone who worked in an abortion clinic? How did you go from being that kid to being a person who had not one but 2 abortions of my own? How did that happen? And I don't have a silver bullet answer to give you except to say that that's just the way that sin works. All it takes is just one sin to enter your life. And a little bit at a time, you can become a person that you don't even recognize. People come to me and they say, oh, I could never have an abortion. Yeah, you could. Oh, Abby, I could never work in an abortion clinic. Sure you could. Because all it takes is one moment of sin. And that can dictate your life down a journey in a direction that you never thought would be possible for your own life. And that's what happened with me. And I worked there for 8 years. I loved my job. I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought I was empowering women by helping them take charge of their reproductive health care. I was truly blinded by sin and the evil that I was participating in. But then one day in September of 2009, I was asked to assist in an ultrasound-guided abortion procedure. And ultrasounds are generally not used during an abortion. Now, we did use an ultrasound before the abortion began, but we only did that to determine how far along the woman was in her pregnancy so that we would know exactly how much to charge her for the abortion. And abortions are priced based on gestational age. So the further along a woman is in her pregnancy, the more expensive it's going to be. So we would make a determination on cost when the woman made her appointment based on her last menstrual cycle. And if we thought she was, 9 weeks pregnant, we would tell her that the procedure would be $450. But when we got her back to the room for the actual exam, if we did the ultrasound and we found out that she was actually 10 weeks and 2 days pregnant, well, at 10 weeks, the price goes up $100. And so it would be somebody's job to walk into that exam room while the woman is laying on the table and tell her, you're a little bit further along than we thought you were. And so you're going to owe us $100 extra. Now, where do you have that? Is that in your purse? Do you want me to grab it for you? Or how do you want to take care of that? And I can tell you that that happened hundreds of times while I worked at Planned Parenthood, and not once did a woman say, I don't have that extra $100. It didn't matter if they had to put $10 on 10 different credit cards. They were going through with that abortion that day. They were there at the finish line. Money is not an object. Not for them. In fact, at Planned Parenthood, we had a list of how they could raise money to fund their abortion if they needed it. Suggestions like you could pawn things at a pawn store, you could sell your clothes to a resale shop, you could borrow money, you could open up a credit card. All of that's online now, so you can get a credit card overnight if you wanted to. And so I knew abortion to be a blind procedure. I knew that the doctor didn't actually see what he was doing while he was performing the abortion procedure. I mean, can you imagine if you went to the dentist one day and let's say, what does everybody hate having at the dentist? A root canal? Those are bad, right? I wouldn't know. I always get the gas. But anyway, I get the gas when I get a cleaning. Give me the gas. But anyway, root canals are bad. Okay, so let's say you were going in to have a root canal and your dentist wheeled up on his little stool and he puts on a blindfold. And he says, I've been doing this for a long time. I'm kind of tired of doing it the same way over and over again. So I'm going to jazz it up today, and I'm going to do your root canal blindfolded. Anybody okay with that? Anybody still in the chair? No, of course not, right? That's ridiculous. Of course not. Whoever would continue to sit in that chair and let their doctor do that? Well, guys, that's exactly how abortions are performed in abortion facilities. It's a blind procedure. The doctor doesn't even see what he's doing. He has an instrument called a cannula. It's like a straw. That's what's hooked up to the suction machine. He just blindly pokes around in the woman's uterus until he thinks he has enough blood and tissue in a glass jar. That's abortion 3,000 times a day in this country. And so when I was asked to assist in this abortion procedure, this ultrasound-guided abortion procedure, it was for a new physician, a newer physician that we had at our facility. He had his own private practice abortion clinic, and he was explaining to me, shockingly, that it's actually safer for a woman if a doctor can see what he's doing while he's performing surgery on her. And that was something I never really thought about. And so, our goal was to get a woman on the table and off the table in 5 minutes. And, using an ultrasound during the actual abortion procedure took an extra 4 to 5 minutes. And so that was not part of our protocol at Planned Parenthood, because for Planned Parenthood, time is money. And it's all about money at Planned Parenthood. And so I was interested. This doctor told me that if the time came and the right patient presented herself, I would be allowed to come in and assist. And my job in the abortion was to hold the ultrasound probe on the woman's uterus during the abortion. And I remember looking up at the screen. We did the gestational dating. The woman was 13 weeks pregnant. Now, 13 weeks, are there arms and legs? Fingers and toes? Heartbeat? Brain waves? Internal organs? Yeah, everything's there. And so I remember looking at that baby on the screen and thinking, okay, it looks like a baby, but I know it's not a baby because Planned Parenthood told me it's not a baby. Now, I have an 8-year-old daughter. I've only been out of the industry for 5 years. So when I worked at Planned Parenthood, I got pregnant and had my daughter, Grace. Now, when I was pregnant with Grace at 6 weeks, at 3 weeks when I found out, at 12 weeks, whenever, throughout my pregnancy, she was a baby. My baby was a baby. But I guess my baby was a baby because she was wanted. If a baby was unwanted, it was just tissue, something to be discarded, waste, medical waste. And so as I stood there and I watched the doctor perform the abortion and he began, I was horrified as I watched this baby fight and struggle to move away from the abortion instrument. He was flailing his arms and legs, trying to get away, but there was nowhere for him to go. And after the abortion was complete and the ultrasound screen was black, I went into my office, and I didn't cry. I wasn't sad. I was shocked. And I felt very duped. I felt so incredibly stupid. Because I had believed this lie. I had blindly followed this organization for 8 years. It's not like I worked there for a few months. This was 8 years of my life. Thousands of women that had come through my office, I had looked them in the face and I had lied to them about the humanity of their child. I had told them that they would never regret their abortion. That having an abortion would make them feel liberated, that it would make them feel empowered. I looked them in the eye, thousands of them, and lied right to their face. I had to leave. I didn't know what that was going to look like. I did not want to leave my job. I didn't want to leave all my friends. My friends were all pro-choice and worked in the movement, worked in the pro-choice movement with me. And I knew I couldn't go to them and talk about this. They would think I was nuts. And so I was Episcopalian, just like Catholic light, and same liturgy, different morals. And I was Episcopalian because I grew up Baptist and then became Episcopalian because they were pro-choice. I mean, that was the reason that I became. The Episcopalian doctrine is pro-choice. Their national doctrine is pro-choice. They believe in abortion. They believe in homosexual marriage. Our Episcopalian priest would send women to my clinic, but particularly young women in our church, if their moms wanted them to have an abortion, he would send them to me so that I could talk them into having an abortion procedure. The majority of people that I worked with were significant Planned Parenthood donors, or that I went to church with were significant Planned Parenthood donors, and so I fit right in. Everybody loved what I did. Everybody thought I was a walking hero around my church because I worked at Planned Parenthood, and so I liked my church. I didn't want to leave my church. I didn't know what that was going to be like, and I did not want to be pro-life because that was weirdos, and I didn't want to do that, and I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't want to leave my job because I didn't want to leave my salary. I made a ton of money at Planned Parenthood. I took a big pay cut when I became pro-life, and I didn't know that was going to happen. So I didn't want to leave my job. I did not want to leave my job. People think I saw the ultrasound, I just ran out screaming, afterward. I did not. I tried desperately to justify what I had seen in that exam room. I tried so hard. But at the end, I could not get that mental image of that baby struggling for his life out of my head. And one Monday morning, I was sitting at my desk, and there had been a prayer vigil outside of my clinic for 8 years, sometimes peaceful, sometimes not. But the people that I usually interacted with were peaceful and prayerful. And they had always told me that if I ever wanted to leave, that they would help me find another job. And I thought, well, I'm never leaving here, so go ahead and give up. And I think anytime I've said, I'm never doing that, God's like, now you're doing it. Because I said, never going to leave Planned Parenthood, never becoming Catholic. I became Catholic. I'm never going to not use contraception. I don't use contraception. I'm never going to support NFP. I teach NFP. I'm never going to drive a minivan. Now I drive a 12-passenger van. God. And I have a sticker on the back of my van that says, I used to be cool. Anyway, so these people have been outside, for these 8 years, and I developed relationships with some of them, not great relationships, but we knew each other anyway, and so I remember sitting there that day, and on Monday at 10 o'clock for 8 years, these two sweet ladies were there from 10 o'clock to 12 o'clock every Monday morning, the whole 8 years I worked there. And I knew them, they knew me. And I remember looking out my window, and I could see these women who were leaving our facility, and they were holding little brown paper bags. We were doing the RU46, the medication abortion that day, and I knew in that bag, that held their medication, that they would go home and then kill their babies at home. And for the 8 years, I remember looking outside and seeing the people that were praying outside of our facility and seeing them as the enemy and seeing us as these women's savior. We were the safe haven. And I remember that Monday morning looking out and thinking, We are these women's enemy. They are their savior. And I remember looking at the women and wanting them to go to that fence, take information, and leave our parking lot. And I thought that day, I think this means I need to get out of here. And so I sat in my office and I prayed for the first time in a really long time. And I just kept asking God, like, who do I go to? You know, who can help me? And, you know, I had already talked to my husband about it. My husband was always pro-life throughout our marriage. It was a little awkward. So I didn't want to talk to him. And my parents, they were on vacation in Colorado. I didn't want to ruin their vacation. And my mom is not the best in crisis situations. So I was like, well, I don't want to give her stomach issues. So I don't want to ruin her vacation. So I didn't call them. So I kept just asking God, give me somebody that I can talk to. And I looked out and I saw these two women. And I kept feeling like God was telling me, go to them. And I thought, no, give me somebody else. Anybody else. And no, I just kept feeling like I should go to them. So I walked out the back door and I got in my car. I could have walked because their office was conveniently located next door to ours, but I thought that would be suspicious. So I got in my car and I drove the 50 yards and drove in their parking lot, and I called because I thought, I don't want to give them a heart attack if I walk through the front door. So I thought I should call first. So I called, and this woman named Heather picked up the phone, and she said, Coalition for Life, this is Heather, how can I help you? And I said, hi, this is Abby Johnson. I'm in your parking lot, and I'm wondering if you have a back door that I can come in. And she said, can you hold on just a moment? And so she put me on hold, and then I was laughing because I was thinking, what is going on inside that building? And then they finally came back on the phone, and she said that they would meet me at the back door. And so I walked to the back door, and they opened the door slowly, and they were all looking at me like this. Like maybe I had like a bomb strapped underneath my scrubs or something. And so they finally invited me in after like a 30-second stare down. And I came in, and I didn't know if I would have the guts to look them in the face and to say, I've been wrong and you've been right. I didn't know if I did. I don't like being wrong. Nobody does. And I thought, I don't know that I can actually admit that. But when I sat down and I looked at these people, that was the only thing that came out of my mouth. Was that I had been wrong for 8 years and they had been right. And I didn't know what they were going to say because, to be perfectly honest, they had every right to look at me and go, that's great, we want to help you, but first, you're going to need to give us a big old fat apology because you have not been nice to us. I was not. I turned the sprinklers on them. I put like sticky stuff out in the flower beds. They'd have to smell it when they were out there. I mean, I was not a sweet clinic worker. And, but you know what they didn't? They just looked at me and they said, we're ready to help you. It was over, it was done. And the next day, I went in to put in my resignation. I gave Planned Parenthood about 5 minutes notice, and I faxed over my resignation to Human Resources, and I put all of my badges and keys and everything in my supervisor's box. And I think the majority of you here are Catholic, so I'm going to tell you this story. If you're not, just laugh like you are. Just laugh like you know what I'm talking about. So every Monday, the people that were out there praying, there was a group of them that would go out and they would put little miraculous medals in our flower bed out front. And so every Monday morning, I would go out there and I would pick them all up. And I didn't know what they were, but they seemed kind of nice. I didn't want to throw them away. So I had a bowl in my office that I would put them in. And so this had gone on for 8 years. So I had to keep getting bigger bowls, and eventually my bowl was like this big around, and it was piled like full of these miraculous medals. And so when I left the clinic, I didn't really take anything with me. Hindsight, I would have taken a ton of stuff. But anyway, I didn't take anything with me really, except for the vacuum, that was mine, and my bowl of miraculous medals. I didn't know what they were, but I was like, oh, I dug the flower bed for these, and these are mine. And so I walked out with my bowl of miraculous medals and my vacuum, and got in my car, and the person, one of the people at the pro-life office there that I had gone to, we didn't know what the scene was going to be like when I handed in my resignation. Thankfully, my supervisor was not there that day. Otherwise, it could have gotten really possibly violent with her. And so one of the guys that worked at the office had actually gone out front the day that he knew I was resigning, the day that he knew I was going to be driving out for the last time, just to make sure that everything was safe and that I was okay and I was leaving without any problems. And so I walked out with my bowl and put it all in the car and waved at him and said, I was done and that I'd be in the office tomorrow. I'd be in their office tomorrow. And I drove out. I took a left. I drove out of the clinic. I drove out of that parking lot for the last time. And I heard the big metal gate close behind me. And I remember looking in my rearview mirror, and that guy, I just remember watching him, he just fell to his knees. Because they never thought that was going to happen. Never. And I just remember thinking, this is probably the closest that I'll ever get here on earth to experiencing what God's scandalous and unconditional mercy looks like for us. And so when I left, Planned Parenthood actually sued me because apparently they think it's illegal to become pro-life. It's not. And when they sued me, my story blew up nationwide. I started going on all of these, Fox and CNN and MSNBC, surprisingly, and all these different programs. And so I started speaking about my story, and I started volunteering at pregnancy centers, and I started getting more involved in the pregnancy center movement, speaking and touring their centers when I went to speak for their banquets. And it was at that time that when I left that I realized that the whole time I worked at Planned Parenthood, I believed while I was there that I was empowering women. But when I left, I realized that I had not empowered women at all. I had been part of their oppression into believing that women are not strong enough to control our own fertility, to believe that fertility is not something that should be a shared experience between a husband and a wife. I had completely failed women with my belief, believing that a woman was not strong enough to handle an unplanned pregnancy. Having an abortion, that's the weakest choice that a woman can make. And I can say that because I made that choice twice. And that was at the weakest point of my life. And so I knew empowering women meant sharing information about their bodies and their fertility and encouraging them to make the right choice and to make informed choices. Because at Planned Parenthood, we did not give them all of the information. I remember being in training and saying, well, how do we talk about the risks of abortion? And the trainer said, oh, well, we don't talk about risk because we don't want to scare women. Because we apparently did not think that women were smart enough to have all of the evidence presented to them and make their own decision. And so I started looking at what was happening in the pregnancy center movement, and I thought, you know, this is great, but we're not actually competing with Planned Parenthood here. Far from it. It would be like saying that transmission shop is competing with this pharmacy down the road. The two things, they're completely separate entities. And that's what we were doing in the pregnancy center movement. We were providing limited ultrasounds and pregnancy tests and saying that we were competing with an organization, Planned Parenthood, where their majority of services is truly pap smears, annual exams, and STD testing. We weren't providing any of the same services, yet we were saying that we were competing. And so that got me to thinking. I didn't know what to do with that information, but I was trying to share it with pregnancy centers as I went, really encouraging them to expand their model. And then I met a woman named Leah Jacobson, and she was this, like, was this funny, I'd never met her before. She drove 5 hours to come to one of my talks. I was speaking to a group of pastors in Fargo, North Dakota. And she lives in Michigan, and no, Minnesota, one of the M's, Minnesota. Freezing cold, okay, Minnesota, one of those. And she lives in Minnesota, and she had driven the 5 hours down to Fargo because she was a campus minister, and she wanted to hear my talk, and she wanted to talk with me about this crazy idea she had. And well, they wouldn't let her in because she was a woman. So she wasn't like the type of pastor they wanted to minister to, so they wouldn't let her in. So she waited all day outside in this little hallway for me to get done with my talk. So I come out and I see this chick with like crazy curly hair, and she's like, "Hey, I have something to tell you, I have something to share with you," and I hear that all the time, so I was kind of like, okay. And she said, "I've been waiting for you here all day," and I thought, okay, she must be serious. And so she started telling me about this vision she had called Guiding Star. And she started talking to me about the need for comprehensive medical centers, for our pregnancy centers, to really cast a larger vision for the services that we were providing women. And I was like, man, you are really speaking to me here. This is exactly what I've been saying in my head, but I couldn't figure out how to articulate it. I didn't know if it was already happening. I didn't know what to do. And so, and it really spoke to my heart on a personal level, because when I had my daughter, Grace, after I had her, I experienced very, very severe postpartum depression and postpartum psychosis, to the point where I was not allowed to be in the room by myself with my daughter. And I remember I struggled with that for a year. And it was too long. A year was too long, but I was alone. I was working at Planned Parenthood 70 hours a week. I was not in tune with my family. I was not in tune with my husband. And I'm a therapist, so I thought, I can fix myself. I can heal myself of this problem that I'm dealing with. But I longed for a support system during that time of my life. I longed to tell somebody what I was experiencing, but you can't say that. You can't say that out loud. You can't, when you have postpartum psychosis, you can't say to one of your friends, "I have visions of smothering my child. I have visions of throwing my child on the floor." You can't say that out loud to people that you know. It's embarrassing, you feel so much shame, but yet you can't help the feelings that you're having. And I longed for a support system, somebody I could share it to, somebody that could accompany me on this journey and help me get help. But I didn't have that. And so when Leah was describing these centers and the support system that it would be for women, I thought, oh my gosh, that is what women need in our society. This is what we need. We need support. My friend had a baby in Switzerland, Sweden, Close, right? Actually, I have no idea where they are on the map. Geography challenged. One of those countries. And we're gonna go to Switzerland. So, she had a baby there, and for 2 weeks, the women, the moms, stay in an antepartum unit. And they have tea together with the other moms every day, and they have nurses that come and relieve them so that they can take naps. And I thought, I am totally moving to Switzerland. And I thought, their rate of postpartum depression is less than 5%. Why? Because they have a support system. They help each other. And so when she was talking, when Leah was talking to us, I was like, yes, this is what we need to do. And so we kind of started on this journey of what would a Guiding Star Center look like. And we came up with some models. And the model that we kept coming up with was truly a comprehensive and holistic model of women's care. So that we're not just seeing women that are in crisis pregnancies, but we're seeing them before they ever get pregnant. We're not just seeing them during their pregnancy, but we're seeing them after their pregnancy. We're helping support them as their child is growing older. And that made sense to me. And so we started this, and we now have several Guiding Stars that are open. We have different models across the country. We have a maternity home model. We have a fertility care center model. We have what's the word? I'm too tired, I just had a baby. A combined office model for multiple pro-life organizations to come together under one facility, kind of a hub for their community. We have a lot of different models, a birthing center, but the one that we really wanted to get out in a big way was this comprehensive medical center model. And so we started talking to pregnancy centers who we thought maybe had that vision as well. And Guiding Star, it's just, I don't even know what the next slide says. Maybe I should pull this up on my phone. But I'll read this because they told me to. So what is Guiding Star? Who is Guiding Star? We believe in the inherent dignity of every human being, beginning with natural conception and ending with natural death. We believe in holistic solutions to the many challenges women face in our society today. We believe in each woman's innate ability to nourish life, either physically or spiritually. We believe that fertility, childbirth, and breastfeeding are natural biological processes, and that knowledge of them empowers women. We believe that every life is unique, holds potential, and deserves celebration regardless of the circumstances of conception, status, or health. And we believe that abortion and contraception interrupt natural, healthy biological processes. And that was our core. And those were the principles that we created Guiding Star around. And what do we do? So we unite pro-life organizations in communities across the country. It's our mission to create comprehensive health centers that offer life-affirming services to women and families. By establishing a national network of Guiding Star Centers, we seek to create a culture that recognizes the true beauty and dignity of women and their families. We believe that these centers will honor and uphold the natural feminine gifts and abilities that women have. And it encourages women in all circumstances to embrace their dignity and find empowerment through these gifts and abilities. And so that's really the core of what every pregnancy center should be. Should be about empowering women in a true way, in a real way. And I tell my story, my personal story of conversion, because that's really what the pro-life movement should be about, right? About conversion. Because it's not just about saving babies. I go to pregnancy center banquets all over the country, and I hear the directors stand up, and they say, oh, we saved 254 babies this year. And I think, Okay, that's great, but that's not why we should be doing this work. It's not just about saving a baby, it's about bringing about conversion. And not just for the woman who's coming in for services, but for the man in her life, for her family, and for our community. I stand in front of you as proof that anybody can experience a conversion experience. See, nobody is beyond the power of conversion because nobody is beyond the power of Christ. And we want to show these women Christ through our actions and through the facilities that we can provide and the services that we can provide for them. And, I tell people, nobody got in the pregnancy center movement because they had a really strong desire to give out diapers. Right? It's about change. It's about conversion. And it's not just about saving that baby's life. It's about saving the mother's life as well. It's about changing her life. It's about getting her off of these government programs that she has been living in on a cycle. It's a systemic problem in that family, in that community. We want to change her life so that she can be empowered and do this on her own so that she can get the job skills that she needs. She needs a GED, great, we're going to help her get there. If she needs job training, great, we're going to help her get there. And if she just needs an annual exam, fantastic, we're going to be here. We're going to be there for her as well. And what we want to do is we want to develop relationships with these women so that when they do, if they ever do experience a crisis pregnancy, they will come to us first. See, that's where the abortion industry is winning. Because they're in our school system, and they're seeing women before they ever have a crisis pregnancy to get them on contraception that they know eventually will fail, or to get them an STD test without actually talking to them about how they can change their life and not be involved in risky sexual behavior. They don't want to do that. They don't want to preach abstinence. Because if they preach abstinence, then their money goes away, right? Nobody's having an abortion. Nobody's coming in to get STD testing. It's all about keeping the client coming back over and over again so eventually you can sell them on their highest dollar product, and that's an abortion. That's what it's about. We did abortions on girls as young as 10. And how did they know about Planned Parenthood? Because we were in their schools talking about sex in kindergarten. Our sex ed curriculum at Planned Parenthood began in kindergarten. It was all about developing a relationship with these girls. And when they came in for their abortion at 10, well, let's get them on a birth control method. We wanted these girls, ideally they would have 4 or 5 abortions by the time they were 20. That would make them a profitable client for us. We had women that came into us for 16, 17, 18 abortions. That was our ideal client. Abortion is a method of birth control. But what if they could have gotten to a center like this, like Guiding Star? What if they could have gotten to a center before they even began that risky sexual behavior? Not only could we have stopped potentially the abortions in their life, but we could have changed their life. We could have helped bring about conversion. And that's what we believe in at Guiding Star. So, next slide. So, So this is just kind of an example of our comprehensive model. There's a poster of that down there that you can kind of look at. And there's also over here, Life Choices has found a facility. It's 13,000 square feet. It's a 13,000 square foot facility. And inside of this facility, they can not only see women for gynecological care, but they can see women for lactation consulting. They can see women for natural family planning classes. We believe that all of these centers should have drop-in childcare so that a mom can go and just have a safe haven if she just needs to sit there for 45 minutes, drink a cup of coffee, and get her mind back. Right? Because sometimes being a mom makes you feel crazy. And sometimes you just need a safe haven just to sit and to network with other moms and to make relationships with people that you can talk to, that you trust. We believe that eventually we could expand this to a birthing center unit inside of the facility, a possible thrift store that can help funnel money into the Guiding Star Center. We have so many different options for our different Guiding Star centers that affiliate with us. And I'm really, really excited to announce that the Board of Life Choices did unanimously vote to affiliate with the National Guiding Star model. And so this will be happening here in your community. This is real health care for women. This is real health care and services for families. Because we're not just pro-life for moms, we're pro-life for dads, we're pro-life for the grandparents, we're pro-life for anyone who could potentially be touched by pregnancy and potentially be touched by abortion. We're about healing women who have experienced abortion and men who have experienced an abortion. We are truly about being a comprehensive center. No matter what that woman needs, no matter what that family needs, we are going to be there to provide that service for them. And if we can't provide it there in-house, we are going to walk with them, we're going to accompany them on their journey so they can get the help that they need. We have, next slide. One of the core benefits to affiliating with Guiding Star is that we do have a national brand. One of the things that's missing in the pro-life movement is that we have no national brand. So the reason that Planned Parenthood is so ahead of us in this area is because they are so well branded. So we had women that came to our centers who had been to a facility in a Planned Parenthood in Missouri, but now they were living in Texas. But they could come to us and they knew they could get the same birth control, they could get the same services, right? And that's what we want to establish at Guiding Star. And our prayer, our hope is that this will just be the first of many Guiding Star centers here in Florida, so that there is a united pro-life comprehensive medical front that no matter what Guiding Star center a woman walks into, she knows that she is going to get amazing care from the staff at that center. Next slide. We are, as a national board, we are really invested in helping you transition. We know that anytime there's a change, people feel a little nervous, and so we get that. But I always tell people, the only thing that should be consistent in the pro-life movement is that we are always willing to change. That we're always willing to meet the needs of our clients as they come. And so this center might start out providing a service and then they have nobody take them up on the offer, and so they move to another service. And that's what we should be doing as a pro-life community, meeting the needs of the women where they are. And so we are so excited, and we as a national board are excited to help you guys transition. It's going to take some transitioning. It's going to take some transitioning in your community. They're looking at changing the name of Life Choices to Guiding Star. Next slide. To Guiding Star Tampa. And so we are going to be with you on that journey. We are excited about this journey, and we know that by providing these services, we know that by changing this brand, by changing this model, by expanding the amazing services that this center has already been providing, we know that eventually we can and we will make abortion unthinkable here in the Tampa area. The thing that I regret the most at my time with Planned Parenthood is that when I had the opportunity that day, September 26, 2009, to intervene and to stop that baby from being aborted right in front of my face, I didn't take that opportunity. I let that opportunity pass me by. And so I'm encouraging you tonight, you have an opportunity tonight to save babies, to save women, to change the culture, to begin a paradigm shift here in Tampa. From one of a culture of death, something that we have embraced as a society, to one of a culture of life. And we believe, we know that through God's help, that we can eliminate abortion in this area. That Guiding Star Tampa can be the first stop, the only stop for women and their families who are in a crisis pregnancy. We believe that, we know that to be true. And I'm encouraging you to not let this opportunity tonight pass you by without getting on board with this new vision that's been put in front of you tonight. Please partner with this organization. Please support this organization. Please get the word out about the amazing and exciting things that are happening right here in your own community. And when people try to discourage you, when they try to say, oh, Abby, you know, people tell me, oh, Abby, it's just never going to happen. We're never going to end abortion, blah, blah. They got Bill Gates, Bill Clinton, stacks of bills. And let your answer be this. It doesn't matter who they have on their side. It doesn't matter how much money they have on their side, because we have the number one God on our side, and that's Jesus Christ, and this victory will be ours. Thank you so much, and God bless you.